I didn't knock. That was later. After everything else. Right now, I was standing on my son-in-law's porch, still in the same black coat from the funeral, my heart hitting my ribs like it was late for something. I could hear his voice through the door, calm, practical, the way people sound when they've already decided, if she signs the waiver, I can take control of the estate accounts by Monday. We won't have to wait for the courts. That sentence stayed with me. It still does. I hear it when rooms go quiet. Anyway, rewind. My name is Patrice Caldwell. I'm 65 years old. I've filled out forms for most of my life. Military paperwork, benefits, death certificates. I know how words move things. I also know how they bury you if you don't read them twice. I'd come straight from my daughter's funeral. Didn't stop. Didn't eat. Just drove. The car still smelled like old flowers and coffee that went cold hours ago. My hands were stiff on the steering wheel the whole way. In my coat pocket was a thick envelope. Sealed. My daughter had pressed it into my hands weeks before she died. She'd said, very casually, like she was talking about the weather, "Don't open this around him." Promise me. I promised. Too fast. Like people do when they don't want a conversation. I hadn't opened it yet. Part of me was scared it would change something. Part of me was scared it wouldn't. I raised my hand to knock. I swear I was about to. That's when I heard his voice again. Not sad, not cracked. Just organized. There was paper shuffling, a chair scraping. The sound of a plan being laid out on a table. I stood there with my fist half an inch from the door. Felt stupid. Felt dramatic. Also felt something else slide into place. Cold. Clear. You ever get that moment where your body knows before your brain catches up, yeah? I didn't knock. I let my arm drop. My fingers were shaking, so I shoved them into my pocket and touched the edge of the envelope instead. Cardstock. Solid. Real. I told myself I'd give it 1 minute, just to listen, just to be sure. That's how it started. The envelope had been sitting in my coat pocket for weeks before that day. Not heavy, just enough to remind me it was there. I didn't open it then either. My daughter had handed it to me at her kitchen table late one night. No ceremony, just slid it across like she was passing salt. Take this. She told me. Her voice stayed flat. Too flat. I laughed. Because that's what I do when things feel off. What is it? A surprise. She didn't smile. She leaned forward instead, elbows on the table, fingers laced. She always did that when she was about to be stubborn. If anything happens. She went on. Slower now. This goes to you. Only you. I tried to push it back. You're married. That's not how this works. She shook her head. Once. Sharp. It's how I need it to work. I remember the way she looked at me then. Not scared. Tired. Like she'd already had the argument and lost it somewhere else. And listen, she added, dropping her voice. Don't tell my husband. Not at first. I told her she was being dramatic. I hate that I did that. She stared at me until I stopped talking. Promise me, she said. I promised. Again, too fast. We didn't hug. She hated hugging when things were serious. She just tapped the envelope with her finger. Once, like punctuation. I asked her if she was in trouble. She stood up and started clearing the table instead. Plates clinked. A chair scraped. I just need you to trust me on this, she muttered. That was it. No explanation. No confession. Nothing neat. Standing on that porch later, listening to her husband talk about signatures and timelines. I realized something ugly. This wasn't paranoia. This was planning. I still hadn't opened the envelope. Part of me thought keeping it sealed was the only way to keep her voice intact. I knocked this time. Soft. Like I was asking permission to exist. He opened the door fast. Like he'd been waiting. black tie already loosened, eyes red enough to pass for grief. He stepped aside and touched my elbow, guiding me in without asking. That small move did more than any words. "Long drive," he offered, steering me toward the couch. "You should sit." I let my shoulders fold, let my feet drag. I hate myself a little for how easy that was. He brought me water I didn't ask for, set it close. Too close. "You don't need to think about anything today," he went on. "We'll handle details." Details. Plural, like he'd already grouped them. I nodded. Not agreement. Just motion. He perched across from me, leaning forward. "The service cost more than we expected," he added. Casual. "Between the chapel, transportation, flowers, it adds up." "I figured," I murmured. "We can sort it later," he continued. "Paperwork, accounts, all that. No rush?" He paused. "You've been through enough." Protecting tone, protective posture. I watched his hands. Calm. Practiced. "I'm a little foggy," I offered, keeping my eyes on the floor. "Haven't slept much." He seized that gently. "That's normal. Grief messes with judgment." A beat. "That's why it helps to have someone steady step in, not help, not support, step in." I took a sip of water and let it spill a little on my sleeve. Dumb. Small thing. Bought me space. "We can review things together," he went on. "When you're clearer, I don't want you signing anything you don't understand." I almost laughed. "Almost, that makes sense," I replied. Vague enough to be nothing. He relaxed back an inch. When logged, I kept my voice low. "I just need time." "Of course," he answered, already nodding. "That's exactly what I'm saying." He thought we were aligned. That was the role. Exhausted mother. Grateful. Managed. I stayed there. Quiet. Hands folded. Letting him believe it. The questions started after dinner. When he'd already decided I wasn't going anywhere, he sat closer this time. Not touching. Just close enough to notice if I leaned away. "Have you been dizzy at all?" he asked. Voice soft. Concern shaped like a tool. "A little." I answered. "True enough, grief does that." "Grief and sleep." He tilted his head, like he was listening for something underneath my answer. "Are you getting rest?" "Some," I shrugged. "Naps." He nodded, filing it. "That makes sense. You've been under a lot." He waited, then added, carefully. "Sometimes people aren't fully clear-headed right now. It's not a flaw, it's biology." There it was. Clean, calm, placed like a label. I kept my eyes on my hands. "I'm managing. For now," he replied. Not unkind, just firm. That's why a professional check-in could help. Someone neutral. For your own good. I looked up then. Just long enough. "You think I need that? I think it would protect you," he offered. "From making decisions you might regret." Decisions. Plural again. I shifted on the couch. Let the silence stretch. I've learned silence makes people reveal their outlines. We don't have to rush. He went on. "Filling it, just a brief evaluation. It keeps things clean, especially with paperwork involved." "There's paperwork already," I asked. "Light." He smiled. A flash of teeth. "There's always paperwork." I rubbed my temples like my head hurt. It kind of did. "I can't handle that right now." "That's fine," he replied quickly. "Too quick. We'll wait until you're feeling steadier. Give me time." I told him. He nodded again, satisfied. "Of course." I leaned back and let my eyelids droop, playing the part he'd written for me. Inside. I counted the steps he'd already taken. He handed me the phone back with a smile. "I noticed you left it in the kitchen, so I plugged it in for you. By the way, your battery is getting old. It seems to be draining even when you aren't using it." It sounded like a favor, but his eyes were checking if I'd noticed any missed calls. He smiled like he'd done me a favor. Breakfast, he added. I can make oatmeal. I nodded. Let him feel useful. Let him think I hadn't clocked the move. He asked where I planned to go that day. Not curious. Just checking. When I said nowhere, his shoulders eased, a win for him, while he stirred the pot. I went over the numbers in my head, the lawyer's name my daughter had mentioned once, offhand, the firm on State Street, the extension she said to ask for. I repeated it like a grocery list. I've always been good at memorizing things meant to be taken from me. I asked for my phone back. He slid it across the counter. Screen dark. Still charging, he noted. Battery drains fast when you're stressed. I took it and turned away. In the bathroom, I locked the door. My hands shook, which annoyed me. I steadied them on the sink and typed one sentence. No greetings. No details. Just enough. This is Patrice Caldwell. My daughter told me to contact you if I ever needed help. Please confirm. I sent it. Then I deleted the thread. Old habit. Probably a stupid one. But habits kept me alive more than hope ever did. When I came out, he was waiting, leaning on the counter, watching my face for tells. All good, he asked. Headache. I replied. I might lie down, of course. He answered, already stepping aside. Rest is important. He thought he'd closed the loop. Phone handled. Schedule known. Me contained. I lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling fan as it ticked. One blade had a loose screw. Click, click, click. That sound stuck with me. I checked the phone again. Nothing. No reply. No confirmation. Just the quiet after a move. If you're listening to this and thinking I should have run right then, yeah, I thought that too. But leaving early tips people off. Staying buys you time. I put the phone face down and folded my hands over my chest. Waiting is also an action. Sometimes it's the only one you've got. I remembered the last real conversation we had. Not the hospital one. Before that, she'd called me late. I was folding laundry. She asked what I was doing, like it mattered. Then she went quiet in that way that meant she was lining something up. Mom, she told me, if anything ever lands in your hands from me, read the fine print. Every word, I joked. You sound like a lawyer. I learned from watching. She replied, dry, no smile in her voice. I asked her what she was talking about. She changed topics too fast. Asked about my blood pressure. Asked if I'd fixed the leak under the sink yet. I let her. I always let her before hanging up. She added, almost like an afterthought. If someone pressures you, even gently, that matters. Pressure counts. Counts how? I wanted to ask. I didn't. I was tired. I thought she was being careful in the abstract way young people are. Now, lying there with my phone face down, it clicked into place. The inheritance wasn't a gift. It was a shield, built with conditions. Triggers. Lines you don't cross unless you want everything to lock. She hadn't trusted the situation she was in. Not fully. She trusted me to notice when something went wrong. I replayed his words from the night before, the phrasing, the calm insistence, the way he framed concern as authority. That mattered. She'd told me it would. I pressed my thumb into the edge of the mattress and held it there until my pulse slowed. No rushing, no confronting, maybe not yet. I needed him comfortable, talking, confident enough to keep stepping forward. If you're wondering why I didn't open the envelope right then, it's because timing is part of protection too. You don't show your cards when the other person is still telling you theirs. I rolled onto my side and waited. He brought the papers out mid-afternoon. Not all at once. One folder, thin, casual, like it barely mattered, just preliminary. He told me, setting it on the coffee table between us. Nothing final, I didn't touch it. He sat down across from me, close enough to point without leaning. This just lets me help manage things for now. Utilities, accounts, appointments, a pause. Until you're feeling stronger. I told you I needed time. I replied, kept my voice low, neutral, like I might fall asleep any second. And you have it. He answered quickly. This is part of giving you that time. He slid the folder an inch closer. I could see my name already printed. Full legal name, neat, prepared. You won't even have to read it today, he added. We can go over it together. Another word that didn't mean what it sounded like. I rubbed my hands together. Slow, let them shake a little. Not fake. Just uncorrected. He leaned back, exhaled. Patrice, I don't think you're in a condition to decide alone right now. There it was, not rushed, not emotional, delivered like a diagnosis. The room went quiet in a way that felt staged, like he'd practiced that line in his head before bringing the folder out. I didn't react, didn't argue, didn't ask him to repeat it. I stared at the edge of the paper instead and nodded once. Small, if that's how you see it. I murmured. He relaxed. Shoulders dropped. A corner of his mouth lifted, just enough. It's not a judgment, he continued. It's concern. Anyone in your position I know. I cut in gently. Then I stopped talking. Let him fill the space. He did. We'll set up a meeting, he went on. Someone professional, objective. This way everything stays clean. Clean. That word again. I memorized the sentence as he'd spoken it. Every piece, in order. I'd done that my whole career. You remember what matters. You write the rest later. He pushed the folder closer again. You can sign when you're ready. I placed my hands in my lap instead, folded them there. Not today, I said. That's fine, he replied, smiling. Too easy. We'll take it step by step. He stood, picked up the folder, and tapped it lightly against his palm, like it was already his. If you're listening and thinking I should have pushed back harder, I get it, Bo. I really do. But some lines only count if you let them land. That one did. I opened the envelope in the bathroom. Door locked. Fan on. My hands were steady, which surprised me. The flap made a dry, tearing sound. Louder than it should have been. It was a trigger trust. The moment any third party attempted to claim mental incapacity or pressured me for signatures, the entire estate would automatically lock into a private trust. My daughter hadn't just left me money. She'd left me a self-destruct button for his plan. Another labeled activation, dates, initials, a notary stamp from months before she got sick. I felt stupid for not opening it sooner. I felt proud of her for knowing I wouldn't. When I walked back into the living room, he looked up like he owned the clock. You ready? He asked, tapping his thin folder. I set my folder on the table. Didn't slide it, just placed it there and pulled my hand back. What's that? He asked. Something my daughter prepared, I replied. Kept it even. In case someone tried to manage me. He smiled. Tight. That's not necessary. I opened it to the marked page. This part is... He leaned forward, read. His mouth moved once, then stopped. The smile fell apart in stages. You can't. He cleared his throat. This doesn't apply. It does. I answered. You crossed the line yesterday. I was helping. He shot back. You heard me. I heard the sentence. I replied, word for word. He stood. Too fast. This is ridiculous. Sit down. I told him. Not loud. Just flat. He didn't sit. I flipped to the next tab. Any pressure, direct or implied, triggers a lock. Assets move into trust. No access. No signature override. He reached for the folder. I pulled it away. You don't get to touch it, I said. His voice changed. Lost the softness. You think this gives you control, it removes yours. I replied. The room felt smaller then. Not because of walls, because something he'd been leaning on vanished. "You can't do this without me," he muttered. "I already did." He stared at the table like it had betrayed him, hands clenched. Then empty. If you're listening and wondering when I felt powerful, it wasn't then. It was quieter, like a door closing somewhere behind me. I gathered the folder and held it against my chest. Not tight, just enough. He stayed standing. I stayed seated. And for the first time since I'd walked into that house, the plan in the room wasn't his. He tried a different angle once the folder was gone. "We can still talk," he offered. "Hands open now. None of this has to get messy." I stayed by the door, keys in my palm. "There's nothing to talk about." He followed me a step. "I just need time." A bridge. "You know how things are right now." The word need came out sharp. New, honest in a way the rest hadn't been. "I covered the service," he went on, voice dropping. "I took time off work. Bills don't pause because someone dies." I nodded. Not sympathy, acknowledgement. "We can work something out," he added. "Short term, I won't touch the principal. Just enough to breathe." "There's no access," I replied. "That's not changing." His jaw tightened. "You're really going to do this?" I slipped my coat on. "I already did." He laughed once. "Dry. After everything I've done for you, you didn't do it for me." I answered. "You did it to manage me." He looked past me, toward the table. "Like the papers might speak back. Don't make this harder than it has to be," he muttered. I opened the door. Cold air rushed in, carrying that stale hallway smell. Dust and old heat. "I'm not making it harder." I told him. "I'm making it smaller." If you're listening and expecting a victory lap, there wasn't one. Walking away felt heavier than standing my ground, but my feet moved anyway. I walked out alone. No pause. No glance back. The door shut behind me with a soft click that felt final enough. My phone buzzed before I reached the end of the block. I didn't look. It buzzed again at the corner. Then again when I started the car. I turned it face down and drove. I checked into a small hotel off the highway. Beige walls. A lobby that smelled like burnt coffee. Good enough. Quiet enough. I sat on the edge of the bed and opened the folder properly this time. Page by page. No rush. The trust language was clean. Locked. Irreversible. My daughter had been thorough. Smarter than I ever gave her credit for. The phone lit up again. His name. I let it ring out. Here's the thing I didn't know until that night: winning doesn't feel loud. It feels empty for a second, then steady. I thought about that porch. My fist raised. The choice I didn't make. Silence had done more for me than any argument ever could. If you've ever been pressured to sign something you didn't fully understand, or rushed into a decision while you were grieving, remember, this urgency is rarely about your well-being. It's about someone else's timeline. I didn't confront. I didn't explain. I chose distance. That was the lesson my daughter left me. Wrapped in legal language and trust. If this story hit close to home, take a second. Like the video. Leave a comment about where you're watching from. And subscribe if you want more stories about choosing yourself when it matters. The phone buzzed one last time. A text flashed. "You're making a mistake. Patrice, you'll be alone." I didn't delete it. I didn't reply. I just turned the phone off. Being alone felt a lot like being free.